My name is Shaun Andrews. I'm the founder of MindHack. And MindHack is a platform that I created that combines music, therapy, artificial intelligence, and data to positively redirect the thoughts and behaviors of students from kindergarten all the way through college. And how I got here, basically, I've been in education and mental health, but the whole catalyst for this thing, I had two friends who committed suicide right after college. And I had my own issues of depression as they did. And I just noticed how embarrassed I was. And, I just was alone through a lot of that process. And the only way that I got relief was through music. And so one day I said, well, why isn't there an app that combines music and therapy? There wasn't anything like it. So I decided to create it. And it's been a journey, but here we are. How it started was just basically curiosity in tech. So my first time starting working on it was back in 2015. So in tech, that's a long time ago. Being located in North Carolina, there wasn't a huge pocket of software developers, programmers. So only ones that I connected with were trying to charge $100,000 minimum to create an app. And so I basically had to go offshore for my first few versions of the app. And the first few versions, none of them really worked. Well, I know I wasted more money in offshore development than I did making money or running an actual company for the first few years. So it was difficult. It wasn't until I really got onto some information about developing, and I went and got my own certification in developing apps, that I was able to kind of catapult things. And so we have our prototype out now. We're working with a few different customers, and we're progressing well. But it was a very, very, very hard journey in the beginning, for sure. So we aim our app at kids in low-income communities, so high-need communities. The reason being, when we take a look at the data, they're getting some of the highest stress points there when we take a look at kind of a statistical map of where the issues are occurring. Also, a lot of times that population has less resources. And so our app is able to fill that void in that specific population. And now we're also focusing on things like literacy rates as well within that population. When I first created the app, so I was in corporate America for one of the largest companies in the country. And I had this idea and basically left corporate America to become a teacher to develop the app in my classroom, because I knew those were going to be my customers. And I had an amazing response. We got some amazing data. I have about 200 letters from students over the 3 years that I worked with them creating the app, where they were just thanking me for the ability to have access to this type of thing. And the success rates were good while I was there. And so what we're seeing now, we have university partners, the University of Louisville, Winston-Salem State, and we're bringing on board Howard University as well. So we have these research partners that are kind of helping us refine our data collection. And so everything's going well. So we hope to be finished with our first research study by the fall.
Okay, so tell us about this letter.
So this is from one of my students whenever I taught school. And so basically the letter says, "Dear Mr. Andrews, congratulations on your app that you've been working on for 5 years. You have made me feel comfortable to express myself in many ways, including physically and mentally. Even though I've known you for almost a month, you've changed me." And opposite of that letter is an image of my cousins and I. We actually facilitate group therapy sessions for young students in middle school and high school. And so this was written by one of our students, and it just shows the impact and the reach that we're able to have, because one of the things that kind of makes us different, we're able to offer the solutions 24/7 to the students. And we're just able to reach them exactly where they are at the time they need it.
All right. So from the perspective of the students using the app, what are they experiencing? Tell us a lot about MindHack, the elements around MindHack involved in their experience.
Yeah. So how does the students experience it? We have a few different buckets of students in our research. We have the students that are using it like just the app. We have the students who are using it, and they're getting the group integration. And then we have a pool of students that we're going to measure, or that we're measuring, who are not using the app at all. So we're able to compare those populations. So how the app essentially works, students will log on anonymously. They get a number to log in, so there's no demographic data taken. Then we measure their mood, and then we ask them about 10 questions from research-backed studies that gauge their levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. And then from there, the app will create or put them into channels with specific content to their issues. And so, for instance, if you were dealing with anxiety, you would have channels that are focused on anxiety. So the content ranges from spoken word to word plus instrumentals to just instrumentals to just sounds. And so it varies. And the students, what we're finding, a lot of them are utilizing it for stress reduction, and we're also utilizing it with a autistic population. And so we're working with mental health agency now, utilizing the app for that purpose as well. And Howard University, they're going to utilize it with their elderly population as a behavior management tool for individuals with early onset Alzheimer's.
So what I want to do now is I want to just talk about some of the myths and facts that is related to mental health, some thoughts that are maybe still assumed by some people. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to say the fact. And then, of course, you're going to say if it's a myth or fact. But if you say that it's a myth or a fact, just give us a little bit more context on how you respond to that and from your research and involvement in the field. So the first one, true or false, mental health issues are a sign of personal weakness.
False. It's really how you define weakness. So if weakness is in a term or is referring a dysfunction within like your creation or how you were made, I think it's not proper to use that. But if you're using it in terms of, I'm just having a hard time right now, the perceived idea of weakness, I mean, you can use it there, but I wouldn't use it. I think it's very, I would say, toxic, because what happens, especially with men, anything that is deemed weak, we run from. And we don't want to be identified with that. And unfortunately, therapy is one of those things that have identified individuals as being weak. And so a lot of people are pushed away from the care that they need based on the perception of that word.
Okay. Here's another one. I am going to say true or false. Eating disorders are primarily about individuals' preoccupation with food.
False. If you take a look at a lot of the data of the issues that we see with individuals who are classified as adult, they have trauma that stems from their childhood. And so we have seen food as being like a coping mechanism or an escape for a lot of individuals. Just like a person may utilize drugs, we see people utilizing food as well. And it could be a myriad of things, even down to sex. It could be one of those things as well. Like, you can get on and take a look at the National Institute of Health, the NIH, their data sets, SAMHSA, their data would steer you there, but as well with dealing with individuals working in the mental health field. So a lot of what we're seeing, and even now the premise of MindHack, we uncover a lot of childhood issues, childhood trauma, and we deal with it at the source. Because even as adults, looking at how I respond to a lot of different situations, even how I deal with the world, the roots of that are based in my childhood, and I don't think that's any different than anyone else. And so to say that it is just a person's preoccupation with food, I think we have to go dig a lot deeper than that to get to the root issue of what's causing it. I know in different communities, like the autism community, you find individuals who are like super geniuses and are creators and all these things, but I don't think mental health has anything to do with creativity.
All right, two more for you. Myth or fact? Mental health conditions are always visible.
That is false. And the reason why I say that, a lot of the stigmas, again, that are out there that are keeping people away from mental health, the reason why they exist, they're so strong, is because you can hide it. And that ability to smile when you're sad, quote unquote, act normal when the whole world around you seems to be crumbling down. And again, that pushes our population into some very, very dark places where they consider some very harmful things.
The last one is PTSD only affects people who have served in the military. True or false?
That is false. So when you're looking at stress, these can come from a lot of different areas. So whenever I taught school, and even now, we work with students who suffer from PTSD. And what I like to say, and some of the things I've seen, instead of post-traumatic, meaning after the traumatic, stressful situation, what we're seeing is continuous traumatic stress disorder. So unlike a soldier who will go and serve like a year overseas in a war-torn area, he'll experience things, come back, and he's dealing with those issues for the rest of his life. With continuous traumatic stress disorder, you see children that are in neighborhoods or in homes that are providing them continual levels or continuous stressors that can be similar to what soldiers have experienced. You can even look at some of the movies back in the 90s, like Boys in the Hood and different things. You can see the little kids, they'll walk over a dead body. It's just natural. And so, but we know that that's unnatural. And so a lot of that trauma seeps into kids, they become adults, and it even becomes normalized in culture. So having unhealthy addictions to things, we put popular labels on those things. And so what we think is self-care is really us burying issues that we should be taking care of.
Thank you. To close out, I want to connect diversity of thought with definitive thoughts and gather people's definitive thoughts based off of their profession or their passion. And so when I speak of definitive thoughts, I know that some will say there isn't any definitive truth. So on a scale of 1 to 10, we're looking at between 8 and 10, something that you really feel really passionate about, something that you can say with sources behind you, experiences behind you about your field, your app, the area you work in, that you would love for people to know, put that in the diversity of thought land.
I believe that love is the most powerful thing on this planet. One way I know that, so I'll kind of take it in levels. So specifically with me, the first time I saw my daughter born, I knew in my heart, like, there's nothing in this world that could separate me from her. And I feel it almost, for a man who, we're never really cultured to love unconditionally, to really experience that with the birth of your child, to experience that unconditional love is something that changed me for the better. And the reason why I say men are not conditioned, are not taught that, because, typically we love people, based on conditions. If she's my girlfriend, I'm going to love her as long as she is supporting me, or XYZ. With that kid, they don't have to do anything. They could be whoever they are, or, mess up or become successful, whatever. Like, your love will not change. Like, none of those factors or none of those conditions are a determinant of your ability to love them. So just from that, and then even from loving people in the past, and always having that love for them, I think there's just something so powerful. Even physically, you'll see where a mother's child is trapped under a car or something, that she can lift the car because she becomes that strong. So I just think it's a very, very, very powerful emotion. And I think people don't realize how powerful it is. So that's kind of a roundabout answer. That's a definitive truth for me. God is love.
And is there a way where you can bridge that truth with your work and your app?
So our app, it focuses on redirecting decision-making. And a lot of that is based on nudging the person to view themselves differently and to view their thought processes differently. And, once you love yourself, then you will stop accepting a lot of things that you're accepting now, and you'll become that better person. So yeah, definitely from the self-love aspect, that's a base of knowledge that we really promote.
For people who are your audience, share how they can learn more about you.
Yeah, so individuals that should be reaching out to me are parents, teachers, school administrators, anyone with a student from kindergarten, like I said, all the way through college. And how they can reach me: one, they can directly email me at Shaun, SHAUN, at mindhack mindhack.com. And then you can just visit our website at www.mindhack.com. And there's a contact form there.
Thank you. All right. So, Shaun, I'm going to play a game with you. Pretty much a little disclaimer because the guests on the show have no idea what thoughts they're going to be shown. So I'm looking at clips that are from Instagram or TikTok or a quote from X. We're looking at these random clips covering various topics, and it could be potentially sensitive topics. The guests are responding on the time constraints and without prior knowledge of the assignments. You, as the audience, keep an open mind and respect that it's spontaneous and there's a diversity of guests responding. But also think about if you do have any triggers based off of the content or the guest responses, to write those down and to note them as a part of your self-awareness assignments. So, Shaun, I'm going to put up a board again. This time we're only looking for 3. So you can choose 3 letters, 3 numbers, or a mix of letters and numbers.
Okay. P.
Okay.
22.
Okay.
X.
All right. Okay. I'm going to put the first one up on the screen and we're going to listen through it together.
They got 40 acres and a mule when they freed us.
We ain't never been free.
Oh, that's
Free what? Free to do what? Free to go get a white man's job and go watch some football and watch some basketball and buy a little old jewelry. Free? Free to do what? You don't make no law. You don't manufacture nothing. You don't produce nothing. So where's your freedom at? And if the Negro don't have that white boy, he in trouble. You don't know how to eat. You don't know how to eat. The only way he don't know how to eat, he got to go fill out the application. They got to go get that job and got to stay on that job and do what the master.
So giving us 40 acres would have been giving us too much power back then.
They ain't going to give you shit.
That's
Why?
Real.
They ain't gave you nothing in all these years. They give an immigrant or a refugee more than they get slave descent. Now they might give you something because you got a Nigeria. You consider the immigrant. I go up there and ask them, well, yeah, I'll give you shit. You got to still take what you want. Fuck you. Excuse me, ma'am, I'm sorry.
No, please.
No, I'm sorry. They give you nothing. Ain't giving you nothing when they give you 40 acres and a mule. They come over here and took this land from the Indians. Now how they gonna give me something? It's God's land. God put this land here for man. You done gathered it all up. Now you gonna dictate to what you gonna do on it too? That 1700 law? Now that shit don't work no more. Everybody over here now. Every tongue is in America. America's Babylon. And everybody hate one another. They all doing one another every kind of way. If a person got a country to go to where's a culture, why did he leave that country where's a culture at to come over here where there ain't no culture? Especially, we ain't no culture. Black man ain't no culture. He gave up his culture. He didn't want to follow what the slaves done or what the slaves passed down. He did what Dr. King said do. He went and got that white boy's education. Now he that white boy. And he think that white boy is Superman. That white boy ain't Superman. Iran, Iraq, all these countries is rebelling against him right now. Footman want to follow him so fast he don't know what to do.
All right. So I'm going to put the assignments in the chat for you to choose from. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're going to be using 3 today. I'll read them out loud for those who are listening. The first one is reality rewrite. The second one is connection compass. The third one is question qualifier, idea incubator, value verifier, insight inspector, the perspective puzzle, or the assumption auditor. So after we reviewed this clip, Shaun, which one of these are you going to choose? And I'll give you a minute on the clock after I share what the assignment is.
Okay. Reality rewrite.
The reality rewrite is when we're going to imagine and describe an alternative ending or outcome to the scenario or argument presented in the clips.
Yeah, so the reality rewrite, I would say, so whenever he said, really the whole tone of his conversation was very defeatist. And he made a few different points about, the black man not owning anything, having to get a white man's education, nothing is given. I think that is true to a certain point, but I think if you were to do a reality adjustment, a different way of seeing things, you see that Black folks have excelled in this country really since the 1800s and even earlier than that, we see examples of Black folks here who are, in some cases, people say were already here. So I think that, the reality should be that white people cannot stop you from doing anything you want, that you are indeed free to do anything you want.
I've been telling guests that, I know I'm cutting you for 1 minute, but if you have some more that you want to say after the 1 minute or anything pulls you out of any of the last three, we'll save it for the end if you have to pull on for any of them, okay?
No, I think that's good.
All right, here's the next one.
I think in the future, historians will regard this period of time that we're living in now as a very bizarre time in history for a whole bunch of different reasons. But a major part of that, I think, is this casual miracles that exist around us, but still don't seem to impact our lives very much. This is undoubtedly going to be a second Gilded Age, but it's going to be different from the original Gilded Age. And here's what I mean. We live in a time in which things online are somehow more important and strangely more real than things that happen in real life. But because we still exist in meat space, when it comes time to try to translate value you've created online into value in real life, that check sometimes just won't cash. And once again, this was predicted by Jean Baudrillard in Simulacrum and Simulation. On this account, I've got almost 100,000 followers. I think I'm almost at 75K. And that's really cool. That's a lot of people. I sometimes get recognized in real life. That's an opportunity in which the simulation of fame that comes from this app translates into real life. But the thing that's bizarre about it is we all know that 71 to 75,000 followers is not shit when it comes to real life. That's actually not that many people. That doesn't change my material life at all. I would need 10 times that amount in order to have my real life be affected at all. And actually, sometimes, even if you had 10 times that amount, it might not matter. As an example, hopefully this won't sound too complicated, but my best friend runs a TikTok account for a world historical figure that is fictional. That is, the figure is fictional. He makes videos that are profoundly impactful for people's lives. He gets a lot of messages and a lot of posts and reposts, stitches, comments that are people being like, oh my God, I've never thought about my problems like this before. This is really changing my life. Holy shit, it's blowing my mind. And whenever he actually makes a video and tags someone from that video that is in real life, that person freaks out. They get so excited. They're like, oh my God, how did this account know this was me? This is wild. And it's because he's running this anonymously. But one of the strange things about it is he's trying to publish a book, right? And all of these major publishers, despite the fact that he has nearly 1 million followers on all the platforms he's on, don't seem to be that interested. And I can strangely almost hear the disbelief in some of the people watching this video. They're going to be like, wait a minute, I don't understand. He's got all these followers, but he can't get this book published. Why is that the case? There's something I'm missing. No, you're not really missing anything. You're missing what we're all missing, what everyone watching this is missing. And that is that there is a gap between virtual reality and reality. You're not actually famous. You just have the simulation of fame. I have friends who have over 1 million followers and they're living paycheck to paycheck. They can't barely afford their bills. They're not millionaires. At no other time in history, in world history, could you have 1 million people who have decided to follow you. Hundreds of thousands of people watch things that you say and do on almost a daily basis and be completely materially broke. As an example, I made a TikTok 2 weeks ago that got a bunch of attention. It was about 250,000 views. And that was more people than have ever heard Henry VIII talk, King of England. 250,000 people never heard his voice in his entire life. And more people have heard mine. That's really weird that it hasn't changed my life at all. 0%. Doesn't help me pay my bills, hasn't moved me to a better apartment, hasn't really earned me more friends. I've connected with a handful of people on this app. Obviously, I'm grateful, but if I was going around glad-handing people in real life, I would have made more connections. They might not be quite as good quality. That is, we might not have connected over the things that we connected over here on TikTok. But it is strange that that virtual reality, which is somehow, we all understand, incredibly important, doesn't really translate into actual meat space. And that's why I'm saying it's kind of a new type of Gilded Age. We're all competing for followers on this app. Everybody wants a following. Everybody wants to be a creator. This is a number one thing that young people want to be, are creators. They all want to be Mr. Beast. And the strange thing about it is they will cater to that fantasy. And by they, I mean all the people who want your money will cater to that fantasy. But it is a simulation of being famous. It is a simulation of creativity and success. And the weird part is that the check doesn't cash. It doesn't change your material life almost at all. That's the case with most people. Isn't that weird?
Right. So here are the remaining assignments: connection compass, quality qualifier, idea incubator, value verifier, insight inspector, the perspective puzzle, or the assumption auditor.
The insight inspector.
You're going to share a new insight or learning that was gained from the content. Then you're going to explore how this new understanding might affect your views or actions moving forward.
So the idea that this fame that people are experiencing now is fake, is virtual. Yeah, I haven't thought about that, but yeah, I mean, I can see he's right. But I think to a certain degree, because he said, he has 1 million followers and it hasn't changed his life. But if he were like selling something, 1 million followers would be extremely valuable. He's just not selling, or he's just not monetizing on his fame. So I guess I could agree with him halfway, but having 1 million followers definitely, from what I've seen, is something that you can really capitalize on if you have a product. There are cultures like who know what they have and are able to capitalize on it. Like, I have a friend who's from Egypt, and they do business together, and they recognize that power in themselves, and like they've like cornered the market in this very niche specific type of business, and they help each other out, and from loans to management to what have you, information. And you see that a lot of these cultures, they become economical giants. And for the ones who don't recognize the value in their community or culture, they're not. And I guess you can see that riding around the city.
All right, Mr. Shaun Andrews, this is our last one. Yeah, this is the last one. last one. I know you're having so much fun though, so
much fun.
Too bad you can only get this last one. There's no more after this. Goodness.
Why are you banning TikTok? We're banning it because we want to protect your data and your privacy. Okay, but like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all these other ones. No. You don't understand. You don't understand. Okay, we want to protect you, and us banning it protects your First Amendment rights. This is incoherent. How does banning a social media app protect your First Amendment? But more importantly than protecting your First Amendment rights of freedom of speech, it also protects your data. I don't know, man. Freedom of speech is a pretty big deal, and if people use an app to talk about things and opinions and stuff like that, I feel like you should just no. I think you're mistaken. No, I think you're mistaken. Okay, and this is the problem with the young people getting access to an app like TikTok. I really think you always go after like the 20-year-olds that access this app, but like they vote. They have a say in affairs. Like, what are you talking about? What? Well, no, they're immature. See, the other day they're like bombarding their congressional representatives with phone calls because they're concerned about the ban. That should tell you, and TikTok told them to do it. That should tell you how brainwashed this. Oh, wow, God forbid your constituents call you and let you know that a piece of legislation that affects their livelihood, that affects their daily routine is going to bother them. God forbid they do what you always complain and piss and moan that they never do. God forbid, right? Yes, you understand. I was being sarcastic.
Right. Want to put in the chat the last 6 to choose from? Choose one.
I choose the perspective.
All right. So for the perspective puzzle, you're going to present a question that you believe is raised from the clip, but is left unanswered or is ambiguous as it's been addressed.
Okay. I guess the question would be, is there freedom of speech? I think that's one of the assumptions in the video. It was left unanswered for me because really you have to define what freedom is, because he was saying, based on the premise that, people are free to do whatever they want to do and they can utilize this platform if they want to. But you have Congress saying that they're going to ban it. But really, the users are making decisions based off of an assumption that that TikTok is not doing something nefarious behind the scenes. And so the question of freedom of speech kind of comes up. But I think that if they had all the information, that there wouldn't be that question.
All right, we made it to the end. Your brain was hurt.
No, man, this
No, that's nothing. Just little kid stuff.
kid stuff.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your time with me to play the Earth Experience game. And because you share so much time with me, I want you to share a little bit with the audience who's watching with us about who you are as we close out.
Yeah, my name is Shaun. I believe in love-based decision-making. And I think that, well, I know that we all could have a more fruitful, productive, effective, and efficient life if we had this mindset regarding how we deal with the world, how we deal with other people, and how we deal with ourselves. And MindHack, the goal is to inspire that self-love and to help guide those decisions as you progress through life, from a kid to an adult.
Love it. Well, there you have it, everyone. Until next time, hold on to you as much as you can. Hold on to your health, your well-being, and your mind. Bye.